All right, guys, today we're continuing the Gadite Corner series of videos. So if we forget to refresh your memory, the Gadite Corner is geared towards those followers of Christ who understand that the Lord's command to love our neighbor may call us to protect our neighbor. For love always protects, and protection may require us to use violent force to protect our neighbor. That is part of the Lord's call to love. So this series is geared towards those who have chosen to make that calling their profession, whether it be war fighters, police officers, first responders, security contractors, and for those who understand that as family members, as fathers and mothers, as fellow citizens and neighbors, I am fulfilling my call in Christ to love my neighbor, and I understand that that call may require me to use violent force to do so, because there are people out there, no matter what, who are going to be hell-bent on hurting other people. And the Lord calls us to confront them. So this series, the Gadite Corner, is kind of taking the Warsong concept from Sing Your Warsong Christian and gearing it towards a specific audience. So today we're going to jump into Jeremiah to understand who is calling us, and to take great heart and courage in that. For let's face it, this call is going to put us in a very dynamic, stressful, and dangerous life or death situation. And that does a lot of things to our body, our mind, our heart, our soul. Our flesh is going to reel and fight against us as we put ourselves out there to protect other people. So how do we fight that temptation of the flesh, of fear, of cowardice, of selfishness? So we're going to look to Jeremiah in the first chapter, Jeremiah's call that's placed upon his life. And it starts at verse 17. But you, dress yourself for work, arise, and say to them everything that I command you. Do not be dismayed by them, lest I dismay you before them. And I, behold, I make you this day a fortified city, an iron pillar and bronze walls against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, its officials, its priests, and the people of the land. They will fight against you, but they shall not prevail against you. For I am with you, declares the Lord, to deliver you. So that's Jeremiah 1:17 through 19 in the English Standard Version. And those are some powerful words that the Lord, I know, has used in my life when I've reflected on situations in my life, some very recently, where I was called to enter the breach with my brothers in a very dangerous situation. And because of the danger of that situation, the flesh was just assaulting my heart, right? It's all about self-preservation. It's all about you, And that fear of death was gripping me. And I really had to dig deep down to the Lord, and I was crying out to him the war songs that I've just prepared to use. But it was almost like in that moment, the fear was just muffling my focus. And so I was trusting more in the words rather than who I was praying the words to. And by the grace of God, he carried me to, watch my brothers right and left and accomplish the mission of protecting our neighbors. But it really caused some self-reflection, and the Lord brought me back to this set of verses, because he made me remember that he has called me to be a protector and guardian of my people. It is the Lord himself in glory, like he says to Joshua. He says, have I not commanded you? So be strong and courageous, for I am the Lord, sovereign. I am the Warrior-King in glory. It is I who shall carry you into this calling and fulfill it. Now, there's still some personal responsibility, right? God has made us free beings, and he tells Jeremiah, he says, I call you. In fact, the entire first chapter of Jeremiah is the Lord's call on his life, and he says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. The Lord in eternity and in his counsel has called Jeremiah to this, just like he calls all of us to our ministries, and just like this ministry to be a protector and guardian of our people. But he also says, do not be dismayed before them, lest I dismay you before them. There's still some free will. There's still some relationship with God. But we should trust in God and his sovereign call upon our lives to say, Lord, it is not me that I trust. It is not my own courage, my own strength, for I am fallible and weak. And in the end, if I'm truly honest, I am completely selfish, which is the worst part about being a coward, right? Someone taught me that a while back that really hit me. You know, they said, what's the worst thing about cowardice? It's complete selfishness. It's putting self above everyone else. And that really dug deep for me as a Christian, and especially as a Christian called to protect other people. So I go to these verses remembering my call, that the Lord has made me this day a fortified city, an iron pillar, and bronze walls, and remembering that he's brought forth those characteristics and given them to me through the Spirit by the grace found in Jesus Christ, and said, this is who I've called you to be. So enter the breach, trusting that in my grace I shall carry you through to do what is right. And it's kind of crazy because we fight to live, but then we also fight to die. It's this dichotomy that's truly hard to explain. And there's a quote from G.K. Chesterton that I got from these guys that I follow on Instagram, the TSI Shooting Institute, hardcore followers of Christ who are Navy SEALs and doing their thing, and they collaborated with Recon USA. They actually made this shirt here, the Bone Frog, and the quote is on the back, and it's such an awesome quote, just kind of understanding this dichotomy. And he says, he must seek his life in a spirit of furious indifference to it. He must desire life like water and yet drink death like wine. I think it's very powerful. So, in confronting death, it's just like, am I just going to be a hard charger and have no reverence for my life and the lifeblood the Lord has blessed me? No, you fight to live, but indifferent to whether you live or die. Paul says to the church at Rome, whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. And so we trust that the Lord is victorious, the Lord is true. He says, I am with you. It doesn't matter about the physical outcome or circumstance of our battle. What matters is that we stand for what is good and right and true. We enter the breach, trusting in God and his sovereign call upon our life to fight the good fight. No matter whether we live or die in that moment, what matters is the legacy of sacrificial love we leave behind to draw others to the gospel of Jesus Christ, to become fellow warriors in this kingdom that is eternal, not temporal. So in your call to be a protector and guardian of your people, remember that the Lord has made you this day a fortified city, an iron pillar, and bronze walls. He is your warrior king. Find your war song that you can sing in that moment that points you unto Christ, the Lord your banner, and makes you remember that call he has put upon you. Meditate upon it each and every day, just like you train physically, you train mentally, you train your tasks and your drills with whatever weapon systems or fighting techniques that you do. So train your mind, body, and soul to be one truly in spirit with the Lord, that you stand ready to fight that good fight in Christ. So just get out there, sing your war song, and we'll see you on the next video.